Hello and welcome back to I Don't Get It, the pop culture Get Off My Lawn cast. If you're just joining us, this show features the open-minded musings of two early 50s curmudgeons staring on the prospect of entertainment irrelevance. I'm your co-host, Bill Scurry of American Caesar Enterprises, which, as my good friend here knows, it's a sophisticated birthing laboratory facility located deep within a mountain, responsible for maintaining the population of Keebler elves, which would have gone otherwise extinct in 1987 if not for our valiant, endless efforts.
Do the Keebler elves, are they still in ads? They still do Keebler elves?
Yeah, that's a cash cow, man. Why would you back off from that?
I feel like, is Keebler still a company? I feel like I don't hear about the Keebler concern anymore.
That's a good question. All I know is they pay me to
pay you
to terraform. Yeah, that supply. They're almost like Oompa Loompas. Just keep them coming out.
Exactly. Who are slaves? All right, I'm looking up Keebler Company, American cookie company. Welcome to the magical world of Keebler. That's their website. Explore how our cookies can take you. Wow, they're really overselling this shit. The magical world of hydrogenated vegetable oil and sugar. So what are their products? What are the best known? Oh, the fudge stripes. Those are good.
Once you've had methylated sulfites, you'll wonder how you ever did without it, you know?
Yeah. You know what? It's nice that as you get older, you crave this stuff less.
I mean, you can't really, if you're in Europe, say, it's really hard to get your hands on it, so.
It's really? A problem. Where you are, you can't get Keebler?
You can get, well, there are American groceries here. There's actually
he's in Europe, by the way. He's in Amsterdam.
There's a chain of they have out front. They have the British and the American flag, and so it's like they import stuff for expats. I forget what it's called, and there may be a few of them, but it's like a specific kind of shop that just has Anglo and American goods. So for instance, nobody's going to care about this, but one night we were trying to get graham crackers. And it turns
you can't get graham crackers.
They're illegal
in Amsterdam.
Graham crackers are illegal here. You cannot import them from the United States on account of the milk that went into them in the production. Does not conform to EU food standards, so it's embargoed as a foodstuff. You cannot buy them in this country.
Whoa! All graham? I mean, any graham cracker? First
Correct.
of all, they put milk in graham crackers?
There is a milk product in graham crackers, absolutely. And it doesn't.
So graham crackers are illegal. There are no graham crackers in Europe.
Yeah,
I have trouble believing that, man.
I looked around. I drove all around on my bicycle. I went to 3 different shops and finally got an answer.
3 different shops? Well, that covers all of Europe, my friend.
They don't have them at the grocery store. That covers all of Europe, yeah. From Bulgaria to Thessaloniki, all over the place, believe me.
You know the story about who Graham and graham crackers was?
No, who was that?
His name was Sylvester Graham, and he had, I might be getting some details wrong here, he had like a health spa, and he was a wacko, and this is sometime in the 1800s.
This is like Kellogg, right? He was also nutty. The cereal guy.
I thought Kellogg was... I went to the Kellogg Museum in Battle Creek, Michigan once. That place was awesome.
Yeah, there's that movie with Tony Hopkins called The Road to Wellness, and he was also loony. He was like he like it was like 3 enemas a day. He was one of those kind of guys.
Yeah, well, Sylvester Graham was a little like that, and the one detail I remember is he thought ketchup made you insane, and he made this cracker called a graham cracker, right, named for Sylvester Graham. That was supposedly a health food, but like it's nothing. Like it wasn't sweet. It was nothing. It was like and somehow it mutated into a graham cracker to the point where the name Graham now like indicates that taste.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Grahams. They call the little like Teddy Grahams.
You'd have difficulty describing the flavor without ascribing it to being a graham flavor. That's true.
Yeah, it's graham flavor. Yeah. So yes, that's what I know about the history of the graham cracker. Enjoy, friends. You know what I miss? You know what I haven't eaten way too long?
What's that?
A s'more.
Yeah, that's they sell them.
And s'mores. Talk about genius.
Restaurants have them sometimes as like dessert concepts where it's a little deconstructed, or it's a s'more like pie.
There was that place in New York where they would give you a little pot, a burner, and marshmallows and sticks, and you would roast the marshmallows at your table, and they'd give you s'mores stuff.
Almost like a fondue place, except for a s'more. Yeah.
Young and able to eat anything again. Oh my God.
By the way, welcome back to the Food History Podcast. We're here to talk about popular culture, politics, and food origins.
Sometimes that's what we do. Hello, folks. My name is Noah Tarnow. I'm the founder and the senior quizmaster of the Big Quiz Thing, the Trivia Game Show Spectacular. Bill, we are busy bees, right? So this is our first episode in how many weeks?
At least I want to say 3, I believe. It's something
3
like
weeks,
that.
And then after this, we're skipping what? 2 more.
I think we're skipping 2 more. We'll be back in the middle of June.
Wild.
Yeah, we're wild. Okay. We're just going crazy. Yeah.
Where are you going?
I'm going to be
because I'm
camped
not
out.
going anywhere for the time being.
I'm going to be camped out in America for the first 3 weeks of June or thereabouts.
Coming to America, upstate New York.
City and then upstate. Yeah, that's the way it's happening.
City of New York. City so nice they named it twice. Its other name is Manhattan.
The apple of the angels.
Yes, and that's the Windy Apple. And that is relevant to our episode today. You know, this is a topic, Bill, that I don't think we would have gone for if we weren't New Yorkers. Bill and I are both from New York. You'd still consider New York City home, right?
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, I just definitely have to think of it that way.
I've lived on the West Coast for almost 11 years now. New York City is home. It shall remain home probably the rest of my life, even if I never move back there. And but were you ever a basketball fan?
You know, that's going to come up later in the notes docket, in that I was more plugged into basketball a good number of years ago, simply because they were MSG adjacent. And they were Ranger adjacent. Let's put it that way. So
but you were always more into hockey than
correct.
Sports, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So we're both from New York, and we're talking about not a new topic, not a new thing. We're talking about the New York Knicks, the New York Knickerbockers,
the Knickerpolitans, as they're known. Yes.
Do you know where the term Knickerbocker comes from?
Yes, I looked it up. I looked a bunch of etymology things, trying to find out what it was, and it's there was the pants, the sort of jodhpur type pants is where it comes from.
Where we get the term? Well, no, apparently, Washington Irving created a character named Diedrich Knickerbocker, who is iconic of New Yorkers, especially rich New Yorkers. And it got to the point where Knickerbocker became a nickname for New Yorkers. So I didn't know this before. Puck magazine in the late 1800s, the satire magazine, basically had a sort of Uncle Sam or John Bull type figure who represented all New Yorkers, who was called Father Knickerbocker. Father Knickerbocker, right?
Yeah.
And the pants came from him.
Mm-hmm.
So he would wear Knickerbocker. His pants were called Knickerbockers, and that's where we get like breeches being called knickers.
Yeah,
you learn things on the show.
The Dutch aspect of it is that there was sort of this idea that I believe that they were like Dutch gentry to some degree. There was this lineage where the person who was assumed to be a Knickerbocker, that type of mold, was generally someone like a Schermerhorn or one of those old.
But those were the rich New Yorkers back in those days. That was the upper crust.
The Vanderbilts, and they were generally of Dutch ancestry going way back. That was their thing.
Yep. Anyway, so they're called the New York Knickerbockers technically, but they are known as the New York Knicks. They have been a basketball team. How long? How old is this team?
Oh, since 46. It was established in 46.
1946, NBA. And Bill, give us the details, but they're having a hot season, and starting this week, they play in the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999, hoping for their first victory since before we were born.
If it's possible, there is a time before we were born. It's happened.
Yes. The universe did exist. So, Bill, tell us about the Knicks, current Knickomania. What's happening in New York around our basketball Knicks?
Yes, the New York Knickerpolitans are a flagship NBA franchise in New York City. I love it, like the WFAN sports guys would call them the New York Metropolitans.
Well, do they call them do those same guys call the Knicks the Knickerbockers?
They will, just because they're just being WFAN Sports Radio 66.
I mean, whatever, it's their job to entertain. Okay.
So it is the flagship NBA franchise in New York City. All apologies to the Brooklyn Nets. That's just the way it is. Based at Madison Square Garden, above the Penn Station shithole in New York City, and owned by the world's biggest asshole, Jim Dolan. The franchise has, like I said, been in existence since 46, and they have 2 NBA championships to their name, but none since 73. I think it was 71 and 73. They sort of missed 72.
Oh, really? They were that? So there was a bit of a dynasty back then.
They were trading. They were going back and forth with the Lakers. That was sort of one of those like legendary back and forths. Yeah. So the reason why we're talking about them in this notoriously sports-phobic podcasting space is on account of their fiery streak through the 2026 NBA playoffs, where the Knickerbockers are prepping to be featured in the first finals appearance, like Noah said, since '99. That year. There's a lot of karma here. That year they lost the San Antonio Spurs of San Antonio 4-1. And this year they're going up against that same Texas franchise.
San Antonio again.
In a strange bit of synchronicity, with one breath, with one flow, you will know. So led by coach Mike Brown and star player Jalen Brunson, the Knicks were the number 3 seed. I was kind of not really sure. Sometimes it's like there's that idea of a Cinderella story of like a team limping into the playoffs and then getting hot, just sort of ripping off upset after upset. I don't think that was the case because these guys are pretty high up there. So it wasn't a surprise apparently that they're doing well. But yeah, number 3
but they had the stat I saw is that they were doing really bad at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. And they saved the season, obviously.
Yeah, 2-9 stretch that featured 2 separate 4-game losing streaks. Man, the way they slice and dice these stats. Oh my God.
People think that matters, so it's like fucking horse racing handicapping. Pretend that there's meaning to it. Anyway, so yeah, they got hot precisely at the correct moment, which is what you want to do in the playoffs. They came back from a series deficit in the first round against the Atlanta Hawks of Atlanta, and then they followed that effort up. They cranked 2 consecutive 4-0 sweeps of the Cleveland Sixers and the Phoenix Cavaliers. You guys can fact check that one on your own. So the finals crank up on June 4th.
The Cleveland Poets and the Phoenix.
Real Madrid and Arsenal. So what is it? Moscow Dynamo, the ice hockey team. So the finals crank up on Thursday, June 4 in the afternoon in San Antonio, with the home team being chalked to win by most prediction markets.
June 4 or June 3rd?
4? I thought it was Thursday 4.
I thought it was 3rd. Anyway, today is Sunday, May 31st, folks, if you're wondering when we're talking. So.
Yeah, and so the thing is, it's like, well, like you say, the New Yorker-ishness of this is appealing. I mean, I think that this is kind of like one of those purely, I guess it's athletes. So at one point, athletes kind of cross over performance into culture. And I think that's why we talked about, was it Naomi Osaka? Is because there was like a large, the game was one thing, but the cultural component was almost like a bigger show. She also
tennis and, the fashion thing. She was dressed like a jellyfish.
Yeah. But we talked about Shohei Ohtani. That was like excellence. Right. Culture was one thing, but it wound up being a clinic. It's like you're talking about someone who's putting on a show, and it's like he merited talking with him because simply his proficiency was so above and beyond that.
But isn't that part of the story here? Like they got Brunson, who's very impressive.
Yeah.
They got Towns, who I don't understand this crap. It's just what I read.
Yeah.
And then don't they have a third player everyone likes?
Yeah. I'm sure they do, and I couldn't tell you who they were. I could pick out Jalen Brunson now just simply because I looked at
Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. They're the celebrities.
Hyphenated Karl Anthony. Yeah.
Right, Karl Anthony. And then there's a dude who broke his finger, but he's going to play anyway.
See, that's dedication, man, to millions of dollars. That's dedication to a salary is what that is. It's dedication to
I got to tell you, man, I break a finger, I'm probably not stopping any. I broke a toe once, so my mom wouldn't even take me to the hospital.
See?
She didn't believe me.
You get a blister on your little finger. So what did you, when you were poking around in here, what did this mean to you? What is the status of the Knicks in your imagination?
Look, I love New York. I don't give a shit about sports. I had no idea the Knicks were having a hot season until you told me about this. And then I started reading about this. I don't understand so much the obsession with sports. I hope people realize, like, these walking sports encyclopedias, sports fanatics, rival the worst sci-fi nerd in history. The amount of hours spent, like, when you turn on TV, people analyzing this shit is unreal, considering it's, like, meaningless ultimately. Fine, it's fun, but, like,
no, but the Pat McAfee show is somehow masculine and worthy, and yet comic conventions are not.
Right. Yes. Jesus Christ. God, sci-fi. It's not even real. Well, let me tell you about my fantasy baseball team. So here's a couple quotes about how great the Knicks are doing this season. Additionally, their 9-game stretch point differential of plus 212 is the greatest of any team in the history of the NBA. I have no idea what that means. Jalen Brunson has plus 186. His plus-minus ratio over the Knicks' 9-game winning streak. Again, like, it might as well be in, Turkish for me. And then, yes, I watched a little of Pat McAfee talking about it. And then a guy, I'm not going to name names. He's a good guy, but he's a sports nut, and I'm Facebook friends with him. And he wrote, no matter who wins the NBA will have its 8th different champion in 8 seasons, an almost unprecedented run of champions. From 1978 to 1987, MLB had 10 different champions. Over the last 8 seasons, the NBA won't just have 8 unique champs, but only 3 teams have ever been in the finals twice in those 8 seasons. Like, how much more finely can you parse this shit?
And somehow,
you talk about this stuff like it's amazing.
But it's Stratomatic, and somehow all this bullshit really matters to people,
I know, and look, fine, it's fun and city pride and all that, but like, we're talking about, guys throwing a ball into a circle. And then the New York Post, I went to the New York Post, and they said how Karl Anthony Towns is psychic because early in the season, he called this because he was photographed wearing a shirt from the 1999 NBA Finals. And of course, this is a rematch. It's the last time the Knicks are in the finals, and they fought the Spurs then too. So people were writing, this is insane. Karl Anthony is psychic. Like, because he wore a fucking t-shirt. We like to whine sometimes, folks. Look, I don't care about basketball, but I care about New York. If New York is coming back, I'm happy. If New Yorkers feel they can celebrate something, I'm happy. Basketball's fine. It's not nearly as toxic as other sports, as far as I could tell. I did not realize the Knicks hadn't won in so long. I think I knew in the back of my mind that like this perpetually losing team. That's true about the Mets too, right? The Mets haven't won in 1,000 years.
We have if you count blah blah blah, the Jets, the Mets, like we got some bums in the city for sure in New York area.
My dad the Jets were good in the 80s, right? My dad was really into the Jets when I was a kid.
Yeah, they were they were good, but yeah, it's been a long time since they haven't won since Joe Namath. It's been a good long time.
And the Mets, that was the big year they won when we were in middle school.
Yeah, 86.
Right, and then the World Series was the Yankees versus the Mets in like 2000. I remember that.
Yeah, the Subway Series. Yep.
And no one watched it because everyone outside New York didn't care.
Kind of.
So anyway, I root for New York. I don't root for these teams, but I root for New York, right? And I read a New Yorker article about this, and David Remnick, the end of the article, he summed up, I guess, my feelings for it. But as another New York team instructs the city from its home in Flushing, you gotta believe. The Knicks are on an astonishing run. Unselfish and undaunted, they are putting on a magnificent show. This is what joy feels like. You remember joy, don't you? And I like that. I think that's, first of all, well written, and it really gets at why there is, municipal pride in a sports team. I've said this before in the show. One of the few times I was into sports was briefly after 9/11. I got into the Yankees because I lived with a Yankees fan, and my best friend was a Yankees fan. And I do have moments where I think sports is exciting, and I do see the value of it. And I've always liked the Knicks name. So you know what? And they're still the underdog, despite this great run. Did you see this? Did you see the odds on Kalshi as of this morning?
Yeah, I can't read odds, so I'm just looking to see what it was.
Well, percentages: 63% Kalshi that San Antonio is going to win the finals, 37% that New York's going to win. So far from impossible, but they're still the underdog. So this is a hell of a story. It's a New York story, so great.
The last time I remember being plugged into the fortunes of the Knicks was you asked me what was the connection, if any, that I've had. It was the early 90s when I was watching the Rangers. The Rangers were in their championship heyday, and the Knicks were kind of...
Well, that's when they had Wayne Gretzky, right?
No, Wayne Gretzky was late, like 96, 97. Now, this was...
Did they win the Stanley Cup with Gretzky?
No, they did not. They won the Stanley Cup in 1994. That was a big deal.
Right. But they had sucked for years too, right? I remember people would make fun of the Rangers.
Yes, the Rangers had a 50 year slide, and that the thing is, they used to chant 1940 against the Rangers. That was the last time they won. That was the last time they won. It was a long ass time. It was nearly 50 years and over 50 years, and so that was definitely a problem for them. And now, I mean, it's been since 94. So, I mean, yeah, that's say what you will. Anyway, so the thing is that the Knicks at that point were represented. They had their own heyday. They had, big guys like Patrick Ewing and John Starks. They were coached by Pat Riley. I mean, that was a moment of themselves. And
they had one of the Reds, right? There was multiple NBA coaches named Red, and one of them was with the Knicks, right?
Is that so? No, I mean, back in the old days, I remember Pat Riley was the king. He was the Los Angeles
Shows you
Lakers.
what I know about sports. Okay.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the Knicks, the Rangers won, and the Knicks had an elite team, but they kept tripping and falling against the sort of big dog teams of that era, like the Houston Rockets and the Chicago Bulls were just they were irresistible at that point. So I watched a ball game, I think just last month on the couch with a friend of ours, Ann Sussman, when I was in New York the last time, because she's a Knicks person too. And I, not even thinking that this was coming up, and it was part of the Atlanta series. So I watched how dynamic the team could be. I don't understand the vocabulary of basketball, but it doesn't look like this guy.
You see, I watched some highlights of Jalen Brunson. It's definitely impressive.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it was obvious that Brunson he's the linchpin of the team. He's quite good. It's strange to say a guy who's 6'2" is a short man, but it's like in this sport, it is. He kind of looks small compared to the guys around him. It's like we're the same freaking height. He's also a ball of energy because the guy's only 29 years old. But yeah, the reservations that I have about this sort of thing happening in culture are sort of like pitching the Manhattan Ball Club somehow as underdogs, even if the odds are against them, as if it's somehow, like the Bad News Bears that, Morris Buttermaker kind of whips their ass into shape, and that these dirty, sooty-faced coarse teenagers who are drinking whiskey in the backfield somehow managed to win against the snobs, that sort of thing. It's like, it's literally correct that they're underdogs, but it kind of perverts the idea of a scrappy upstart effort, the way you think about it.
If they're from New York and they have more money than God.
Exactly. And let's pivot again. Also, number one Trump fan, fucking Jimmy Dolan, is universally hated by every fan of both the Knicks and the Rangers.
And apparently the felon says he's going to come see a game. And New York Magazine did an investigation on the history of his Knicks fandom. He would go to Knicks games in the 80s and 90s, but, he would go to a lot of stuff, right? So is he really a Knicks fan? He's not a fan of anything. I mean, let's be honest.
So the thing is, Jimmy Dolan's shitty stewardship of Madison Square Garden and the teams contained therein.
So wait, why is he shitty? I hear people crap on him all the time. Why is Jimmy Dolan so bad?
Well, he's a personal monster. He is a sniveling nepo baby brat who inherited the business.
Okay, but what has he done? Putting aside him being a scumbag, is he bad? How is he bad for the Knicks or bad for MSG? I mean, does he own MSG or he just owns the Knicks?
Everything. Right? They own Cablevision or whatever, Optimum, whatever the company is called, owns everything. They own the building, they own the team. And the thing is,
executive chairman and chief executive officer of Madison Square Garden Sports and Madison Square Garden Entertainment and exclusive chairman of MSG Networks. Okay. In addition to being a scumbag, and he's a blues musician who That's right. He pays musicians to play with him. I've heard about it.
He pays, and he compels people to come to the clubs to see him under the punishment of employment. Anyway, yeah. So, he's known for terrible decisions because he's so brilliant, because he's Charles Dolan's son, an idiot who blundered into being this plutocrat's kid, that he thinks he knows more about the teams than. So he has. Personally,
he is. You don't get that rich without being smarter than everyone else. Everyone knows that.
Personally made decisions into running the Knicks because he's felt he's known better than the experts, and so they've had terrible, terrible, terrible runs because he substituted.
So people blame this drought on James Dolan.
And it is absolutely.
But he hasn't been there for 50 years. It can't all be his fault. Come on.
Dolan's been there since the 80s. A lot of the streak is their fault.
What a fuck it. He went into drug rehab in Minnesota in 1993. These people forgiven for everything. It's ridiculous.
He's a dry drunk. Yeah, but it's like, so the thing is, the Dolan about it makes me almost want to wish for something bad to happen to the team.
Knicks at fucking 4, baby! Smoking on that fucking Cleveland bat! If we win the finals, we burning the city down!
So, Bill, why, I guess, I mean, is this self-evident? Why there's Knicksomania in New York right now? You showed me that video, 45 seconds of people losing when they beat the Cavaliers, right?
Yeah, it was after the sweep.
After the sweep, they swept the Cavaliers, and that put them into the finals or into the semifinals?
No, the finals. They were sitting on their heels waiting to see how the Western Conference wrapped up.
Right. So people going nuts in the streets, out of control. Why? Why are the Knicks having a moment, and why are people excited about it?
Well, the Knicks, it's another indisputable fact about this is that they are one of the biggest teams in maybe one of the biggest markets, if not the biggest market in the NBA, and watchers and wags are excited to see huge franchises go up against each other. So San Antonio has this they are a good team, and they are San Antonio is not a huge city, but they've had more than their fair share of championships.
Pretty fucking big. It's one of the 10 most populous cities in the country.
Is that so? Yeah, it's flat.
Yeah, it's just a small media market, but everything in Texas is giant.
Yeah, small media market. Yeah, and so the thing is, it's like people like to see these kind of it's not Seattle Supersonics against the Utah Jazz, sort of like taking nothing away from either those clubs or those cities.
Right. I mean, hey, where do you go for good jazz?
Is it the Charlotte Pelicans? I can't even remember what the fucking team is called. Anyway, it's really weird. No, but this is like, big business. So people want to see this sort of thing. Organically, the fans are kind of ready to blow the streets up. Like you said, there's something about, I see like a lot of pent up pressure ready to explode. They should finish the job. I mean, it's like, it's a testament to how excited people are. Like, why is it popular? It is like, it is palpably popular. You can see right now that there's a lot of energy and people are waiting for this. That many years between a playoff appearances, or at least finals appearances, is a big deal. And, I'm sure people can actually remember that far back. Not everybody's a fucking 16-year-old kid. Some
people can, but probably most fans can't. Right.
True. Yeah, but in New York, I know that there's also a lot of, you don't just have, beyond the fair weathers, they're on like ride or die.
Yeah, well, you got your Spike Lees, your guys who, yeah.
So it's like, I kind of also enjoyed the sort of Mamdani was shitposting Cleveland and kind of like taking the piss out of Vivek Ramaswamy. I like that. Yeah. No, I appreciate you can play that game. It's something I can't imagine like Giuliani or Dinkins having done, but I could picture Mamdani playing this game a little bit. That's fun for me.
Yeah, well, that's his brand. Because they've sucked for eons and people, and here's the thing. It's New York. People are always going to care and always going to believe in a New York team. This is why, Bill, I'm going to be a little optimistic here. This is why I am perhaps foolishly optimistic that someday, when this embarrassing, disgusting stain of a regime is behind us, that the rest of the world will come around again to trusting us, because the big dog gets forgiven again and again and again and again and again. You want to be part of what the big dog's about, and we will still be, if not the big dog, the United States will still be a big dog, at least for the foreseeable future, one way or another. So it's New York City. People are always going to care. People are always going to believe. People are always going to want to take its side. There will never be a New York City team that people aren't passionate about, no matter how bad they are. If the Knicks lose this and lose another 50 years, people will still be Knicks fans. If the Mets don't win the World Series again for another 1,000 years, people will still be Mets fans if New York is still there. So it's New York. Of course, people are going to care. And they've sucked for so long that, it's pent up. You have all these old school fans. You have all these kids who grew up. You have all these people who were, long-suffering fans. I mean, you hear that. People wear it as a badge of honor. I know a woman who's a fan of the Seattle Mariners. She's from the Pacific Northwest. And did you know this? That the Mariners are the only current team that's never played in the World Series.
Is that so? Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. So you got to wonder, why do you stay a fan of this team? Because you like Seattle, or because you like this team when you were a kid, or blah, 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 blah. I mean, even though I'm not that kind of sports fan, I totally get that. And, my dad's cousin, who's 80-something, and is like the Cubs since she was a little kid growing up in Chicago. I mean, one of the greatest moments of her life was when the Cubs finally won the World Series. I understand that. Also, Jalen Brunson's great. You're like, I don't know basketball from, curling, but I'm able to watch the highlights and see this guy's talent. He's exciting. He's magnetic. I can admire it from a pure, physical athletic feat point of view. They got fun characters. They got a fun story. It's a fun moment. So, it makes sense that people that it's happening.
I have spent 20 years of my life wanting to kill him, and now he is finally out of the doghouse in our house.
If the Knicks win everything, would you forgive Jim Dolan for his history?
I look forward to having that conflict.
Noah, would you have liked the Knicks, the Knickerbockers, the Knickerpolitans, if and when you were a kid?
Well, when I was a little kid, I couldn't care less about sports. I remember in '86 when we were 11 and the Mets were winning, and every radio songs about the Mets, and, the Mets were the heroes and Cinderella story and blah, 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 blah. I didn't care then. But as I said, I got into the Yankees briefly in my 20s. So if I were a kid, I don't think I'd care. If I were a young man living in New York in my 20s and this were happening, I could see getting excited about it. Sure. I mean, I don't know, maybe 50-50.
I guess I look back to what I actually did, where I guess I must have watched some actual basketball in the early 90s when I was a kid, simply because Madison Square Garden Network, which I was already watching the Ranger games, pretty much as a religion back then. I was MSG pilled, you know, so it was easier. It was easier to bandwagon a winning team. And again, the Patrick Ewing Knicks were a winning team, and when they got crushed by the frickin' Michael Jordan Bulls for all those years, or they choked against the Indiana Pacers and Reggie Miller and all that stuff. And I mean, I didn't really care about it necessarily. It wasn't disappointing to watch. It was just sort of watching drama play out in front of me. You know, that's the thing, is like, that's a winning team rather than a bunch of gutless losers like the Jets or the Mets. Like you said, there's plenty of gutless losers who are just millionaires sandbagging, taking money in New York, not doing anything with it, right? And the Jets and the Mets have traditions of that thing where they just, you know, for some reason, there's this idea that they're outer borough heroes. Whatever, I'm getting off topic here. It's just kind of weird how that works. But the
Jets don't even play in New York. What bullshit?
Neither did the Gents. Neither of them do. But it's like, I don't understand the grammar of basketball. I mean, I see what's happening, but I can't tell what's a good play. But the thing is, if you're fair weathering, does that really matter? People just kind of like get in there and watch it just simply because it's a moment. And to be fair, I'm not watching the games now, but I could definitely I would have been a step closer to watching if I was like 14, 15 years old again, that sort of thing.
Were you trolling Vivek Ramaswamy with your post overnight?
I just hope you had a nice night. And we had a great one in New York.
Is the Knicks possibly winning after 50 years? Is people setting Cleveland Cavalier jerseys on fire on 7th Avenue outside Madison Square Garden and losing their freaking minds and screaming how, you know, other players should go back to France? Jeez. Is any of that a sign of the apocalypse?
He said, "Send that N back to France," is what they
should think. Send that N word back to France.
That's what he said. No, it's weird. I was going to say, because like this happens every year in some city in America or Canada, I guess you could say, or like, you know, you pointed out.
Oh, come on! Look at the way Europeans go nuts over.
That's what I'm saying. You pointed out the idea that there's also football riots overseas and things like that. You know, sometimes England has them, sometimes Ireland, sometimes on the continent, etc., etc., etc. It's like, the thing is, we do have many sports titles every single year, and the cities don't burn down like Detroit did back in the late 80s. It's like, apparently we are managing to survive championship fever. But I do have a care for the destructive tendencies of fans who treat a championship like purge night. I mean, it really, those guys in that video, they had some real testosterone faces, man. It's like, that is some real laser focused, you know.
I'm all for celebration, but when you're burning stuff and when you're saying go back, I mean, granted, these were black people saying black person go back to your home country, but still, like, that is a sign of the times. That is a nasty edge that I don't think is necessary, and I don't like to see. There's a way to go nuts in the street that's a little more wholesome in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, I mean, are we going to see cop cars getting burned and Starbucks windows being kicked in? I don't know. Here's the worst part for me. I'm saying it's not an apocalypse, but really, I sweat over the fact that there is clearly in America, especially the big cities, there's a shitty and tenuous relationship between law enforcement and citizens right now.
No.
Especially in New York.
But cops are everyone's friend.
I'd rather not see the apple cart tipped over for the moment.
Yeah, so you know why this is the apocalypse? Because as New York Magazine reported, tickets in the nosebleed section for when the first finals game at Madison Square Garden are going for $3,600. And then they did a comparison, right? In section 425, whenever that is, in 1994, I don't know why they were comparing to that. Oh, I guess the NBA finals. Yeah. So I'm sorry. The Knicks were in the finals in 94. The last time they were in the finals was 99. So 94, nosebleed section was $35. I'm not sure what that is adjusted for inflation, but now it's $1,725 in section 425. Section 213, $60 in 94, $2,127. Section 101, $125 in 1994, $3,392 in 2026. This is one thing that really pisses me off about sports. I've talked about this a lot. And one thing I like about San Francisco being here is we didn't pay for the stadium. The fact that citizens support sports teams, these games should be free. And pro sports, which, let's face it, has no real value beyond entertainment, so that's value, and city camaraderie, and the fact that they are so expensive. And yes, I know it's what the market can support, fine. But like, Jesus Christ, like sports, I've said this a lot, sports makes suckers of us. It makes fucking tools and suckers of us. And I don't like being a tool or a sucker, which is part of the reason I'm not a sports fan. So I don't know. This level of inflation is just, and greed is indeed part of the problem. Then another sign of the apocalypse. Did you read this? Do you know who Michael Burry is?
Michael Burry. Yeah, he's the guy from the stock market guy, right?
The Big Short. You got
The Big Short. Yeah, that guy.
He is the one expert who predicted the '08 housing crash. He said the market feels like the last months of the 1999-2000 bubble, with AI and semiconductor stocks at the center of the concern. And I get that. And apparently he brought up, and you know what happened in 99? The last time the Knicks were in the finals.
Yeah, that's true. There's something to it.
So, I mean, whatever. It's a little tenuous. And whoever wrote this, I don't even remember where I read this. Whoever wrote this was being kind of cheeky. But, you know, history repeats. So maybe we're in that kind of bubble now, which, you know, I don't know. Wouldn't surprise me, but obviously different reasons. The reason, if we have a crash, it's not going to be because the Knicks, you know, make it into the NBA finals.
2, 3, 4. Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! Basketball.
All right, Noah, let's bring it on home. Let's talk about jealousy and the Felonian scale. What is the envy you feel about this topic?
Sure. You know, I mean, it must be a real exciting moment to be a Knicks fan, to finally see it, you know, this joy of something you've waited for all your life. You know, I bet there are a lot of Knicks fans who are like a guy like Spike Lee. How old Spike Lee? He's got to be close to 70, right?
Yeah, he's very close to 70, yeah.
So he saw the Knicks win when he was a kid, and he's probably getting older and going, shit, I just want to live long enough to see the Knicks win again. And here he is, you know, 33% chance it'll happen, right? And odds are he will still be alive by next week. So
do you happen to see who's sitting next to him on courtside? I didn't realize this,
No,
but Stiller is a huge Knicks
Stiller?
fan. He's been there the entire season. Yeah,
Is he from New York? I thought he was from LA.
He was born in New York. Yeah, no,
Okay.
I think he grew up in New York because his parents were. But I have associated with him with LA, but apparently it's like New York is his home in his heart. That's why he's.
All right. Well, I mean, look, this is what celebrities do, right? So it must be really exciting to see that. So I wish I was part of that. Then again, you know, they could be disappointed. Like, again, Kalshi, as of this morning, 37% Knicks, 63% San Antonio. So, I mean, if you trust Kalshi, if you trust the odds, it will most likely not happen. So I can imagine the crushing, you know, getting your hopes up. I'm finally going to see the Knicks win, or I'm finally going to see them again after 50 whatever years. And then it falls apart. And if you're someone like Spike Lee, knowing that, well, then I probably will die before it happens again. I mean, maybe not, you know? I mean, I don't know. They'll still have Brunson next year, so they could two-peat, right?
Well, the aforementioned friend Ann Sussman and my other good buddy Rich are they're loving this thing. It's weird that I have I get some local joy in my friend circle. Not about baseball, not about hockey, not about football. It's like, but basketball for some reason. I have two Knicks fans, and I don't run in sporty circles. But I'm glad that they're happy. They are legit fans for years. They follow this stuff. It's like I'm not envious of their experience, and I mean it's like I'm glad I'm actually watching humans I know get some level of satisfaction from it. So it's kind
That's
of
very sweet of you, Bill.
Well, it's also it's a tonic. It's like, you know, this is when it works well, like sports fandom. If somebody shows you how to do it and it kind of looks appealing, not for me necessarily, but it's like, oh, this is what you do when you go to a bar and you watch games with people. And, you know, somewhere uptown, and, you know, the whole bar is like watching every single play and rising and falling with the enthusiasm of what's going on. That is
exciting when that happens. I've been in situations like that. You definitely get swept up, and it's pretty cool.
So where would you essentially array this, Noah, on our XYZ axis?
Yeah, I don't know. Very simple. Remember we talked about the Luka Doncic?
Oh, we did talk about Luka Doncic trade. Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
true.
So that was basketball. So half of that times, you know, the New Yorker element. So I said 1/20th of our last hyper New York topic, you know, soon to be mayor, Zoran Mamdani. So 1/20th, because again, I'm sorry, sports is just not as important as being the mayor. So 1/2 of Luka Doncic times 1/20th of Zoran Mandani plus 3. That's it.
Yeah.
Plus
no,
3.
that's true.
And
Well,
that's where you arrive on the Flonian scale of the Knicks 2026 comeback, Cinderella story, come from behind, amazing turn of events. You gotta believe season.
You gotta believe. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. This
You
to
sexy
me,
thing.
this to me is like pumpkin spice, Noah. It's a sort of seasonal sensation in our cities, or at least I associate it with our cities for some reason. I don't know why. Except the thing is, I might get more out of pumpkin spice on account of the sugary medicinal flavor I can actually access. I can consume it as opposed to this.
Wait, what do you mean you can't access? You can watch us on TV. What?
No,
just
no,
'cause
no.
You can't go. Oh, you can't be part of the New York experience because you're here.
But the thing is, you can't taste the Knicks. You can taste pumpkin spice. It's tangible to me. It's a thing that more than looking at basketball, I can actually ingest pumpkin spice. It seems more real to me in terms of a sensory experience. That's the thing. So I can
taste the Knicks.
I could taste. Well, if you sit courtside, you might accidentally.
You could smell the Knicks.
You could regrettably wind up tasting the Knicks, depending on how the splashing of sweat goes. Yeah. So it's like, the ephemeral moment in culture is more fleeting. I think. I'd rather to get the disgusting.
Yeah, pumpkin spice is not fleeting. That thing's got staying power.
That's true, but I mean, it tends to be zoned to a certain part of the year. It's
right.
more of an autumn thing.
All right, very exciting. So, folks, we're going to take a couple more weeks off. Bill, you will be in New York. Wait, when are you going?
Oh, I'm just right around the corner on Tuesday. I'm going on Tuesday.
So you'll be in New York. So if the Knicks win, will you be in the city? Is it possible you're in the city the night they win the finals?
I'm going to be tossing cop cars, man. I'm going to be right up front. Balaclava on, going full fucking tack, man. I'm going to go shithouse.
By the way, folks, seriously, no joke. Probably, the two greatest sports moments of my life. One, being at WrestleMania 3, seeing Hulk Hogan defeat Andre the Giant and Ricky Steamboat defeat Randy Savage. You can hear about that in my recent appearance on the Shut Up and Wrestle podcast, Brian R. Solomon, where I talk about that. The other moment was 1993, when the Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup for the last time. 2 blocks from my apartment, I took to the streets. I was with a crowd of people. Things got ugly, but I left before that. It was fucking amazing. I'm riding on my buddy's shoulders, walking down the street, just high-fiving everyone who walks by. It was pretty awesome. Anyway, so join the riot. Be part of it. Make a difference. Stick it to the man.
If you guys want to find past
episodes, get some Louis Vuitton bags,
or maybe you can post bail for me depending on things go. You want to look on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, GooglePlay. Skeet to us at Noah and Bill Showed Up. He's got a social. Write to us at noahandbilldon'tget@gmail.com. Give us a review. It helps us. Heat is great for us. I'm on the social at BillScurry.bsky.social, at William Scurry on Twitter, at William Scurry on Insta. YouTube.com/AM Caesars, where the video still shows. And I just made an appearance. It dropped just the other day on our sister podcast, our friends over in Wales, Film 89. I talked about aliens for about an hour 45, where we shook down aliens, which this is what is it, 30, 35, 40 years? 40 years? Yeah, 40 years. This is
it was late 80s. Yeah, 40.
86. Yeah, this is a big round number. The Film 89 does round numbers, and so that's why we talked about it. So that's
why is it called Film 89?
Because Film 89, the way Sky envisaged it, as the British say, it's the idea that 1989 was kind of a golden mean. It's right in the middle of this path of like being a huge film fan, and the best things you ever saw.
That was a killer summer. It was Batman. It was Indiana Jones.
Total Recall.
Total Recall. Abyss.
Yeah, I think.
There was another huge movie that summer.
That's the thing. Terminator 2 was 90.
No, Pretty Woman was 91.
That's the thing. It's like it is circa the best things that ever came out in your head. Essentially, it was the golden. Yeah, it's so the idea of like let's put a pin right in the middle of those years. Since 89 was the year.
All right.
Yeah.
Because I always wonder because it's they do tons of movies that are from 1989, e.g. Aliens from 86.
Tell the nice people where you are.
You can learn about me at bigquizthing.com. Learn about the Big Quiz Thing, my company, America's premier provider of corporate and private live trivia events. Go to our website, see our new promo video edited by your second favorite podcast host, Bill Scurry. I I am also personally on Instagram at the Noah Tarnow. You can follow Big Quiz Thing on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook. And yes, as I mentioned before, I recently guest appeared on Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian R. Solomon. Taught one of my favorite wrestling podcasts where he talks about we just shoot the shit for a while. It's pretty rambly, but we had a really good time about my fandom. I was a big fan of namely the WWE or WWF at the time, and what I consider the glory days of the late 80s, early 90s. I attended 2 WrestleManias. So I talk about some of my memories, some of my theories, and why I say this all the time, I might have said this in the show, why my belief that wrestling, pro wrestling, is the most honest sport there is. Learn about that by listening to Shut Up and Wrestle.
All right, everybody. So to the next episode where we talk about the New York Buckinghams reaching the finals. We don't get it.
A production of American Caesar Enterprises 2026.